This is the video of our epic trip to Pamir Highway, where we travelled about 2300 kilometers for 8 days. Pamir Highway is a rugged and remote region with spectacular landscapes, high altitude turquoise colored lakes, and mountain passes that rank among the highest in the world. The road passes next to Taliban controlled Afghanistan for more than 700 kilometers, separated by a river. Not just nature, but Pamir Highway has historical places dating to the Bronze Age. Our Pamir Highway trip started from Dushanbe, the capital of Tajikistan. Our spirits were high as we drove through the streets of that beautiful city. On the first day, we would be covering a distance of about 350 kilometers from Dushanbe to Kalaikhum. The mountains started immediately after moving out of the city. The first place of stoppage was the Khorog Reservoir viewpoint. It's the backwaters of the Khorog Dam built for hydroelectric purposes. Throughout our journey, the scenery was stunning. We never got bored of it. Our next stop was Hulbuk Fort near Khorog. Hulbuk was a major center during medieval times. The fort here thrived between the 9th and the 12th centuries. It collapsed after the fall of the kingdom. Today, the ruins are excavated and the walls are rebuilt. It was a hot day with temperatures above 35 degrees Celsius. A museum is on the other side of the road. We could see the artifacts excavated from the fort in the museum. The caretaker did his best to explain it in Tajik.
Samani, right? Ismail Samani. 9, 10, 11, 17. Ulbuk. Ulbuk.
We had our late lunch at a restaurant in the town of Khorog. The climb started after the town. The road was super smooth on that part of the Pamir Highway, but it's the only day where we will have the luxury of good roads. The first glimpse of the mystic Afghanistan. The Panj River acts as a boundary between Tajikistan and Afghanistan. We will be getting down to the level of the river, and for the next 3 days, we will be looking at this Taliban country. The road here goes to Afghanistan. You see the bridge connecting Tajikistan and Afghanistan. After the Taliban took control of Afghanistan, the border is closed. Amazing to see the roads running parallel in 2 different countries with the river as the boundary. We can occasionally see Tajik soldiers patrolling the road all along the border. We don't see much visible activities from Taliban on the other side of the border. Our day ends in the small town of Kalaikhum. We relax in our cozy homestay, enjoying the views of the river. The hill on the other side is in Afghanistan. Kalaikhum looked more beautiful and modern than we had imagined. It has some nice restaurants and hotels. On the Pamir highway, we regularly see Chinese trucks. China has taken complete control over the infrastructure in this part of the world. It looks like Central Asia went away from the sphere of Russian influence to Chinese authority. On the second day, we will be driving from Kalaikhum to Khorog, the capital of GBAO province, covering a distance of 250 kilometers. Day 2 started early at 3:30 in the morning. The road to Khorog is under construction by a Chinese company. They block the vehicle movement from 8 in the morning to 6 in the evening. So it was necessary to cross the checkpost before 8. As it was fully dark, we dozed off. When we got up, we saw ourselves on the dust-filled road. Once we crossed the checkpoint, we got down to see the surroundings. We had our breakfast inside a farm. The breakfast mostly consisted of bread, dry fruits with green tea. Here we got a glimpse of the Pamiri way of life. GBAO or Gorno-Badakhshan Autonomous Province covers 45% of Tajikistan land, but only 2% of the total population resides here. Pamiris, who are the locals, are distinct from Tajiks on many aspects. It has caused a lot of clashes between the Tajikistan government and local Pamiris. The clashes in 2021 and 2022 led to a lot of casualties. Though it is not possible to enter Afghanistan, we can get a glimpse of their lifestyle driving on the Tajikistan side of the river. We can see people working in fields, walking around, driving their vehicles and playing. It does look obvious that the Afghanistan part is much poorer than the Tajikistan side, but life goes on. We reach Khorog, the capital of GBAO province. We spend our evening roaming around Khorog. It is a nice small town. Khorog is also the place where we can buy any items needed for the trip. After this, we will be driving in more remote areas. On the third day, we will be driving along the Wakhan corridor. So, what is the Wakhan corridor? It's a narrow strip of land marked by British India and the Russian Empire as a buffer between their kingdoms. Wedged between Tajikistan and Pakistan, this strip of land in Afghanistan is just 15 km wide at its narrowest edge. Trying to prove that Afghanistan is just a stone's throw away. Ishkashim, the start of the Wakhan corridor, has a Sunday market in Afghanistan. Before Taliban control, people could have walked over the bridge and gone to the market. We can now only see the market next to the bridge. This area has a number of old fortresses. We stopped at Kakaha Fort, lying next to the road. It's a 2nd century BC fort from the Kushan era. Their empire stretched from Uzbekistan to northern India. The fort is now in ruins, but gives a glimpse of the situation 2000 years ago. Its main aim was for defense purposes on the Silk Road. The fortress is named after the legendary hero and the king Kankaha. The tribes in those days followed Zoroastrian cult until the conquest of Central Asia by Arabs. The scenery from the top of the fort is amazing. We can see the Panj River, the fields of Afghanistan, and the mighty mountains of the Wakhan Corridor. Another fort that we saw on that day was Yamchun Fort. We had to take a detour from the main road to reach this fort. While this area looks remote today, it was a thriving route on the Silk Road many centuries ago. This fort, built during the Kushan era, served to safeguard the position in the Wakhan Corridor. It also protected traders and their goods. The fort is located on top of a precarious hill overlooking the Wakhan Corridor. The ridge that you see on the far end is the boundary between Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province of Pakistan and Afghanistan. Near Yamchun Fortress is Bibi Fatima Spring, believed to have powerful healing properties. One needs to be naked to take a dip in the pools. This area was once under the influence of Buddhism. The remains of a stupa testifies it. Generally, people do not visit this stupa. Even our driver had to get some help from the locals to get the directions. Eventually, a few kids in the village volunteered to guide us to the stupa. It was a school holiday and they were enjoying their free time. It was a steep climb to stupa. The stupa looked different from the ones that we see elsewhere, but here we are talking about the ruins dating to BC. On the fourth day, it was time to say goodbye to Wakhan Corridor and head towards the desolate highlands of Pamir. The road climbs up the Khargush pass to reach the high altitude desert. The road near the pass was narrow and steep. We also had to cross a stream, the only place in our trip that provided some challenge to our Toyota Land Cruiser. The landscape changed dramatically after we climbed the pass. The effect of sudden altitude gain had an immediate effect on us. We found it difficult to walk fast. The route passes next to a few high altitude lakes. It provides a preview of the stunning lakes that we will be seeing in the coming days. Here we joined the main highway coming from Khorog. The sight of the asphalted road makes us happy, but the driver assures that it will be short-lived as the roads are perpetually bad in this area. Here we take a short detour to Bulunkul and Yashikul lakes. The landscape resembles the scenery of Ladakh and Tibet, extremely remote location. We encountered very few vehicles along the route. At the end of the day, we reached Murghab, the main town in High Pamir. Time to rest and relax. It was the fifth day and we continued our journey on the Pamir highway. We stopped at many places to enjoy the scenery. We do not get to see such views every day. The road goes next to the Xinjiang province of China. The barbed fence marks the border with China. We crossed the highest pass of our trip, Akbaital Pass, at 4655 meters above sea level. We go down the pass and after some time the Karakul lake comes into view. It's a huge lake and its turquoise waters makes it more beautiful. Time to relax and enjoy the place. Next to the lake is the Karakul village. Most people in the village have gone to the higher areas to graze their sheep. The village looks deserted. This would be the farthest we could go on this trip. The road continues further into Kyrgyzstan to reach Osh town. It would have been our original Pamir highway route, but the violent border clashes between Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan in 2021 and 2022 have made the crossing logistically difficult at this point. So we had to make this as a round trip from Dushanbe. It took us 3 days to reach Dushanbe from Karakul lake. We avoided taking the same route as much as possible. The interesting journey was at Tavildara pass between Kalaikhum and Dushanbe, part of the original Silk Route. It tested our energies with its long and bad roads, but with stunning landscapes. Thanks a lot for watching this video. See you later.